So for the third part of our broadcast, what we'll do now is we'll move into Scorpio archetypes and Scorpio themes. So stick around for that. We're going to get kind of a little bit deeper exploration into how we can use this full moon to let go of things that aren't serving us any longer. So let's talk for a moment about Scorpio. Scorpio is one of those signs that in modern times is considered to kind of have two rulers. It's traditionally ruled by Mars, but we also give Pluto rulership of Scorpio. For those of you who have strong Scorpio in your chart or strong 8th house, I encourage you to always kind of be cognizant of both of those planets as you're exploring your chart, because they can both provide insight, and they can kind of work together to give you a deeper insight into how your own astrology may be playing out in your life. So never neglect the traditional or the modern ruler. I always encourage you to have a close look at both of them, because both of them are going to provide insight. So Scorpio, this is fixed water, right? It's the sign of the scorpion. And so to really kind of conceptualize this, think of it as like a still deep pool or a well. Scorpio energy is deeply emotional, but it's not necessarily emotive, right? It's symbolized by the scorpion, the snake, the eagle, and the phoenix. These are all symbols that we assign to Scorpio. The phoenix especially speaks to being reborn, rising from your own ashes, right? Rebirth and regeneration, which are concepts that we assign to Scorpio, the 8th house, to Pluto. Scorpio represents death and transformation, and then the rebirth which follows. This is kind of the archetype of the detective or the investigator or the researcher, someone who discovers or uncovers secrets, right? It's the psychologist and the counselor. This is someone who keeps secrets, right? Or we also can assign it as the mystic and the alchemist, which is a student of secrets, right? Forbidden knowledge. So this is a very secretive type of energy. It's very withdrawn. It's very pulled in that sense, representing both like the underworld, right? We assign criminal activity often to the 8th house, and also like the underbelly of humanity, like our grossest, nastiest, yuckiness parts of being human, right? And so specifically, I wanted to mention, like if you have Saturn in Scorpio or Saturn in the 8th house, this can literally be about, for you, it can literally be about perhaps the fear of being vulnerable or the fear of vulnerability. Scorpio, we tend to think of this as a sign that holds grudges, right? That's really kind of an expression of fixed water, if you think about it, about not letting go of what may be like an emotional wound, if you will. It's very private and secretive. You don't want to get too close, because you can see that Scorpio stinger come out, right? That's a very defensive way of operating in the world. Same with as Cancer, fellow water sign Cancer, it's that tough shell over that soft interior, right? So it's really about defensiveness and vulnerability in a lot of ways. And not allowing yourself to be vulnerable or to resist vulnerability can really hold back growth and development in the long run. And so that's something that you really kind of want to explore when you have the opportunity to be working with the 8th house, to be working with Scorpio. We also, like the more unflattering sides of Scorpio, we tend to think of this as an energy that can be manipulative or scheming, right? That's kind of a negative expression of it. But what that's really tapping into is that Scorpio is the strategic thinker of the zodiac, right? This is always about making plans. And sometimes we might forget when we're making these plans, right, that people aren't chess pieces. It's okay to be strategic, but people aren't chess pieces, right? Let's talk a little bit more about Pluto, given his rulership of Scorpio. So Pluto has domain over death and rebirth, over transformation through destruction, right? Over wealth, plutocracy, for instance, over secrets and hidden things, and over power and control, the ability to influence or be influenced by, right? So with this particular full moon, some of the things that I would like you to consider as you decide what it is you'd like to kind of maybe let go of or release from your life right now. Have you, or in what ways might you have given away your power or allowed someone else to take power from you in some way? And are you ready to reclaim that? Are you ready to take back your power? Are you letting a fear of vulnerability hold you back? This taps into that secretive nature, right? Are you being secretive in some way or about something? And is it interfering with your ability to make deep connections with other people? Remembering that vulnerability is what allows us to establish those deeper connections. And through that, it allows us to establish trust, right? So that's an important part of connecting with other folks. Also consider, and there's several prompts, right? You don't have to work with all of them. Just work with whatever you feel most drawn to, right? Because this could be a lot to take on all at once. But consider, what emotional or psychological baggage are you holding on to? Is it a wound that needs healing? Are you holding a grudge like we talked about? Does that really serve you? Or is it holding you back from being able to move on, or holding you back from being able to find your own healing, right? Where are you resisting transformation in your life? This is kind of an important one. Where are you stuck in caterpillar mode? And the reason why I want to stress this as being important is because we're moving into eclipse season, right? If you caught my broadcast, I want to say last week or the week before, about eclipse season, you know that there are some dates that we're moving into where we need to keep an eye on things that might be coming up for us if we're being affected by any of the July eclipses, July 2nd or July 16th. Well, eclipses bring about permanent change, and typically it's change that we've resisted in some way. And so specifically, if you're resisting transformation, if you're resisting change in some way with this full moon in Scorpio, if you're finding yourself stuck in caterpillar mode, I would encourage you to really think about why is that? Why are you resisting change? What is it that is holding you back from moving forward or moving through whatever it is you're experiencing? Because if you can tap into the why, and if you can kind of align with the idea that change is necessary, it'll be much easier to navigate the eclipses coming up, because the eclipses are going to force that change to happen anyway. And so it'll be easier if you are less resistant to the idea that change is coming and change is necessary and beneficial. So where can you welcome that nature of the butterfly, right? That transformative ability to grow from being, the caterpillar to the butterfly. What does the butterfly do? The butterfly pollinates things, right? Pollinates flowers and fructifies plants simply as a byproduct of doing her thing, right? Beautifying the world. That's what butterflies do. They beautify the world simply by existing, in part because of their own intrinsically beautiful nature, but also through the byproduct of their activity of living life. Pollinating flowers and plants and bringing abundance into the world, right? And so where are you resisting pollinating the world and fructifying the world with your being, with your gifts? Bring those into the world. Give birth to that. So take a few minutes right now with your paper and your pen in contemplation. I want you to write down what it is you would like to let go of tonight with the full moon in Scorpio. And you can even take the time, if you like, to write out a little bit about why you want to let it go, because there's power in the why. So I'll recap these prompts just really quickly for anyone who may have joined us late, and then we'll spend a few minutes in contemplation, writing out what it is we want to let go of personally for ourselves this evening. So just a quick recap. Have you given away your power or allowed someone to take power from you? Are you ready to take it back? Are you letting fear of vulnerability hold you back from your own development? Is being secretive interfering with your ability to make deep connections with other people and establish trust, establish a strong emotional bond? Is there emotional or psychological baggage you've been holding on to that you need to just set down and walk away from? Is there a wound that needs healing? Are you holding a grudge? We talked about grudges a lot. Is that really serving you, or is it holding you back from moving on? Okay. Where are you resisting transformation or stuck in caterpillar mode, right? And where are you resisting bringing your gifts into the world, right? Pollinating and fructifying the world with your being. So those are some of the prompts that we're working with tonight. So just take a few minutes for contemplation. Write down what it is that you'd like to let go of. Like I said, you can even spend a little bit of time writing out why, and then we will reconvene after to share what it is we're ready to move on from, and to release it, to do the actual releasing practice. All right. Rosalind, yay! She's got it. You've always got it, Rosalind. You're always on top of the releasing. I love it. This full moon, she says, I release the fear of focusing on my own needs and will from now on make sure I have my needs met before anyone else's. Also, communicating more with my resources that help, that help me get my needs met. Perfect, Rosalind. I like that. I like that a lot. Mine kind of went in a similar direction about refocusing on my own personal priorities and what's important to me, as opposed to what I think other people think should be important to me, right? I kind of went that same way. That's a fantastic way to go with this particular full moon. So I have Gemini rising, so this is a 6th house full moon for me. And then, of course, I wanted to focus really around my daily activities and my daily schedule, and see if I can't reclaim some of my own time, some of my own energy, and devote it to things that are important to me. And so I wrote, I'm ready to reclaim power over my daily schedule and important tasks. I invite new priorities to take their place in my daily life, including daily spiritual practices and daily health practices. And that I release the expectations of others, real or imagined. Real or imagined, right? Because sometimes that crap is all in your head, which I may have allowed to influence my daily priorities and activities. That's what I'm letting go of this evening. And so what you'll do now that you've written down what you're releasing, read it out loud just like that. Take it to a fire safe place. If you're burning it, please be safe with the practice if you're doing the burning practice, but you can also tear it up into little bits. That works as well. But you just state aloud your intention to release it with gratitude, right? So I release the expectations of others, real or imagined, with gratitude, expectations which no longer serve me. I'm going to release them with gratitude because doing that allows my own priorities more space to move into my life, right? And so that's what you do. So take your paper to a fire safe place. If you have a fireplace or a fire pit, a grill works. Be safe, but you want to burn it. And if you're burning your paper, burn it completely. Otherwise, you can just tear it up into bitty shreds. I've done that too, in a pinch. Mine's really going. It really wants to. Nice. Quickly. Let's see. Oh, there's one tiny little bit. Let's get that. But yes, I invite you, share what you're letting go of in the comments, if you will. I think sometimes that can help inspire others in ways that maybe they hadn't considered. So we all go through some very human experiences in life, right? Shared human experiences. But it's definitely a time for letting go of other people's priorities, right? And tapping more into your own, what's important to you. Here we go. It's all gone. It's all done. Dun-dun-dun. I love the releasing practice. It's just so nice. It feels so light afterwards, right? And what's nice about the full moon, so with the releasing practice, or just the full moon in general, right? This is a coming to a culmination of energy. And so especially where you can recognize that this is coming to a culmination of something that you began 6 months ago at the new moon in this sign, it's signifying a time of rest, and rest specifically for regeneration, right? So Pluto is who we typically, in the modern world, we give rulership of Scorpio. And that story is a story of the cycles of nature, the cycles of rest and regeneration, and then rebirth into spring and summer, right? We're talking about the story of the ruler of Hades, and that governed winter, right? So a time of rest and restoration. So what you can expect as you see things coming to culmination around this particular full moon is an opportunity to just kind of tap into some rest and some restorativeness in that particular part of your life, especially while we have Pluto retrograde. Okay. And if you want to kind of tap more into the Pluto retrograde aspect, I would encourage you to go to the website, and I can see about grabbing a link to include in the comments or in the video description for you, so it's easier to find. I recently uploaded to the YouTube channel the Pluto retrograde in Sagittarius conversation that we had in the group about 2 years ago, I think is when we had it. So I updated it a little bit. I did some editing so that it's a little bit more relevant to just Pluto retrograde in Sagittarius, which is an annual event. And so if you need a refresher, you can watch that, and it'll help take you a little bit more deeply into that Pluto retrograde and how you can tap into that if you'd like to do that specifically. But I'll get a link for that as well. And as far as announcements, there's not really a lot. Read up on the May overview and short reports if you haven't already. I'll give you a link for that. Especially if you tried to read them and the content wasn't available previously. We had some content from the May overview, not the short reports, but from the overview itself, which wasn't viewable from the front end of the website, even though it was viewable from the back end. But that's been corrected. So if you went and read the May overview previously and went, this doesn't seem like it covers the whole month of May, that's why. But it's there now. So if you want to recap, and where I would really encourage you to kind of go back and spend some time reading is on coming up the 26th of May. We have Mercury going out of bounds. We have Mars right now out of bounds. Mercury's going to join him, and that will continue through mid-June. And there's just some particular caveats around how that can play out, things that you might want to keep in mind over the coming weeks as we deal with those two planets out of bounds at the same time. It can be a little challenging. And so I'd really encourage you to maybe spend a little bit of time just reading up on that so you can kind of gird yourself and have a strategy for how to approach Mercury and Mars out of bounds. Also, join me Monday at 1:30 live on the Mystick Physick Astrology Facebook page. That's 3:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, 8:30 p.m. British Standard Time, I believe is what you're on, and 2:30 a.m. Australian Eastern. Is it daylight time? I think so. These time zones get me every time. It's early Tuesday, anyway, if you're from Australia, if you're catching us from that side of the world. That's the next Sidereal Insights Astro Update. I'll be going over current sidereal transits and how you can best align with them and make them work for you. And then also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that way you don't ever miss a broadcast, because everything that we do with our full and new moon releasings will get published there. New moon intention settings and full moon releasings, but stay tuned as well for more news about the 2020 Ultimate Astrological Planner, which will be going on pre-sale here sometime in the not too distant future, but I'll keep you posted on that. And thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. Bye.